Alright guys, Raw Rustler here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Summerslam 2016. This is the big one, the 13 matches, the 6 hours of my life that is gone. Was it worth it? To be fair, SummerSlam this year had a lot of hype going into it. Obviously, the Bala Rollins match was a big match. The Lesnar Orton, Cena Styles, Ambrose and Ziggler was built really well. The women's match, the Reigns and Rusev match. There were a lot of matches on this card that you thought were going to be real quality. However, when I thought about the card, it was always, the 2-hour pre-show is going to drag it down. The other matches are kind of going to drag the card to a bit of a halt unless they, I guess, spread the matches out of quality. Which, in the end, they actually did. They spread the quality matches out, but I honestly, in the end, would wish that they just put them together near the end of the show, because the actual card structure was really poor. And you'll be able to see how poor the card structure was as I go through the show. But really poor structure. Also, I do want to get a couple of things out of the way. The crowd were really abysmal for this event. They were into the main event. They were chanting Suplex City. They were chanting RKO. They were into that. They were into the last 5-6 minutes of Rollins and Bala. They were into Bala's entrance. And they weren't into much else. The world title matchup the WWE World Title match with Ziggler and Ambrose really got shafted by the crowd. The Cena Styles match got shafted by the crowd. The crowd were into a big return, which I'll get into in a minute when I have to talk about that match. But really poor crowd, I thought, for this show. But anyway, we'll start with the pre-show, obviously. The first match was a 12-man tag team matchup, a rematch from this week's SmackDown Live. The Vaudevillains, The Ascension, and Breezango taking on the American Alpha, the Hype Bros, and the Usos. There's not too much I can say about this matchup. I thought it was a fine matchup, 2.5 stars. In the end, the faces win again, which I predicted. Obviously, I couldn't predict this matchup because this match was announced literally about 10 minutes after I did my prediction video. But I went in thinking the faces would win because American Alpha are on that team. And the faces did. A grand amplitude from American Alpha is followed up by a blind tag and a splash from Jey Uso. So the Usos get the pin, and there's a little bit of animosity between American Alpha and the Usos after the match. So it seems like that is going to be the tag team feud for the SmackDown brand. Fine match, 2.5 stars, whatever. It was a fine match. Then we had the second pre-show matchup, Sami Zayn and Neville. I was going to go against the Dudleys. I was picking Sami Zayn and Neville here because it seems like they're splitting up the Dudleys. I was absolutely right. I thought this was decent stuff here, to be fair. Zayn and Neville looked good together. I think they've got fantastic chemistry as a tag team. I've always looked at them as being a good tag team. It's very disappointing that Sami Zayn had the biggest win of his career at Battleground in that classic with Kevin Owens, and now he's on the pre-show teaming with Adrian Neville, which Neville's great, but Sami Zayn, I think, has really stooped a little bit there. The Dudleys here, they were fine. This was a decent matchup, 2 3/4 stars. I think these guys put on decent match. Obviously, as I've just said, a haluva kick and a red arrow after miscommunication from the Dudleys again costs them. So I got that prediction right. 2-0, 2 1/4 stars. 2 3/4 stars, sorry. Final pre-show matchup, the one I was really looking forward to, Sheamus and Cesaro. I thought this was a good matchup, and my rating for this kept changing as I kept thinking, oh, this was slow. They did some really good spots here. The steamroller off the second turnbuckle from Sheamus, the spot where Cesaro is on the ring post and jumps off the ring post, bounces on the ropes, and does a crossbody to Sheamus was a cool spot. But in the end, a good finish, I would say. Sheamus, of course, winning clean. Well, sort of clean. He rakes the eyes. Into the ring post goes Cesaro, and the brogue kick. Sort of clean, but not fully clean. A good matchup. I'm going to go 3 stars. Best match on the pre-show. Best match so far. And that's also another prediction, right? 3-0. On a night of weird predictions, to be fair. This was a weird show. So the event kicked off, and we kicked off with the match I imagined would kick it off. Enzo and Cass taking on Chris Jericho, and Kevin Owens. I thought this was a good match. Not great, again, but good stuff from these guys. The best stuff Enzo and Cass have probably had on the main roster so far. Jericho and Owens are such natural heels. They have such great chemistry, and we needed to see how they would actually do in a tag match. They were good here. In the end, Enzo gets caught with an assisting codebreaker where Owens lifts Enzo over his head, kind of like how people counter the proper powerbomb, but this actually did look inadvertent. So he lifts him over his head, Jericho catches him, codebreaker, good spot, 1, 2, 3, Jericho and Owens kind of shockingly win the matchup against Enzo and Cass in Brooklyn in their hometown. I thought that was a silly result. I think that in their hometown they really deserved the victory. But hey, that's what they're going with. 3 stars though. I thought this was a good match, a good way to open the show. Hot opener. The crowd were into Enzo and Cass, to a degree. Then we moved on to, and this is where the structure of this show really starts to shock you, the WWE Women's Championship matchup. The match with some of the biggest build going into this show. Sasha Banks and Charlotte are second on the main show. Now, the original report after this match finished was that Sasha Banks was being punished for failing a wellness policy. Now it doesn't seem that that's true. It seems like she's injured, which basically I guess they wanted to get this match on early. However, this match felt important, and this really should have been towards the end of the show. But anyway, Sasha Banks and Charlotte, I thought these women honestly started very, very sloppy. A couple of spots were botched, backslides were botched. Really, they didn't start very well in this opening 5 minutes. But as soon as Charlotte had the Razor's Edge on the second rope, and Charlotte countered that into a Hurricane Rana, it was gone. From there, this match was on, and it was on point. These two women had a great matchup here. Not as good as the Raw match, I don't think, because the emotion wasn't there, but it was still a great matchup. Sasha countered a natural selection into a bank statement, which was a great counter. Charlotte would eventually hit the bank statement. I meant Sasha countered the natural selection. Sorry, Charlotte would eventually hit the bank statement, and Sasha would kick out at 2. Just great stuff. A meteora from Sasha to Charlotte outside the ring. Great stuff from these two women. In the end, it was a tilt-a-whirl from Sasha, gets into the bank statement, and in a finish that I thought was really smart, Charlotte hooks the leg and rolls Sasha onto her back. 1, 2, 3. Charlotte wins back the WWE Women's Championship after 4 weeks. Now, I'm not annoyed by this finish, because it seems that Sasha Banks is injured, and that's obviously, they need the belt off her if she's going to be injured. It seems like she might be out for a month. Here's the issue. I know women's champions like Trish Stratus who were injured for like a year and just held the belt. So, the fact that she'll be injured for a month, which is the guess, because she's been taken off 33 days worth of house shows, and that's it, no more than 33 days. I have no idea why she lost the belt here. I think she should have retained it, and then you could have just said, maybe just taken her off TV, maybe not bring her up as much. Maybe Charlotte could talk about how Charlotte is not on TV anymore because she's scared of another match with Charlotte because she knows she'd beat her. Something like that. I don't think Charlotte should have won the belt here, but I'm not totally annoyed by it. It just seemed to me a little bit weird. And to me, what was so great about the moment on Raw where Sasha won the belt is it was kind of like you caught lightning in a bottle. You had this great moment on the first episode of Raw with a new champion being crowned. And now that moment is gone. It is a meaningless, pointless moment, and I'm going to forget it now in the next year because it was pointless. And it lasted a month. Sasha, in all honesty, has looked a little bit weaker on Raw shows. Like, she had a 2-minute match with Dana Brooke, and I guess that they cut her time because she was injured. I don't know how... I mean, if she was injured, I imagine... Why would they give her the belt if she was injured? It seems to me they basically rushed the title win to get a cheap pop on a big episode of Raw to try and bring in viewers, and then decided, oh, she's injured, I guess we need to take the belt off her. It seemed to me that this company don't plan, which they obviously don't, but I thought this was a great matchup. 4 stars. Charlotte is the new women's champion. I put my predictions at 3-2, of course, because I didn't predict Jericho. IC title, Apollo Crews and The Miz. This was 5 minutes long. I was stunned by the pathetic excuse of not even a match, because the guys were fine, like 2.5 stars, but I was appalled by how poorly this title was treated. And Miz wins with a skull-crushing finale. That's it. The feud's over. He won pretty much clean. I know that Maurice got involved at points, but that is going to happen in Miz matches. There was nothing in this match that I would say, oh, Cruz needs a rematch. No, Cruz lost fairly easily in 5 minutes, so we shouldn't have a rematch. I didn't think Cruz would win. I thought Miz would win, so that put my predictions at 4-2. But this was silly to me. 2.5 stars. There was nothing they did that was wrong, but they didn't do too much right either. Okay, so we move from that, probably the down point of the whole main show, to the high point of the main show. And when I talk about the structure of this show, again, this matchup, Styles versus Cena, was 4th on the main show. This is one of the biggest matches going into this show. It's the face of the WWE against the new guy, I guess, if you want to call him that. He's not particularly new, he's 39 or something. But this is a big match, and this should have been on again later in the show. But, nevertheless, these guys had a freaking awesome match. And it was just great. A couple of negatives first. The psychology in this matchup, because they hit finishes quite early. So Styles would hit a finisher in like 10 minutes, and this match lasted 23. And Cena hit his AA in like 12 minutes. So to me, that was like, that's really early to be hitting finishes. Especially because after that, they were teasing false finishes with face busters and leg drops and DDTs, and it was just like, oh, okay, that's a little bit silly. But overall, this was an awesome wrestling match. The finish, you know, Cena, in the end, he hits a super AA to AJ Styles, which Styles kicked out of. Not many people do. Kevin Owens was one of the people to kick out of a super AA. Not many do. Cena sits in the corner just going, what do I have to do? He goes to AJ Styles. He goes for another AA. Styles counters it. Styles clash. Phenomenal forearm. And pins John Cena clean. Awesome finish to an awesome wrestling match. This was great professional wrestling. Awesome wrestling. 4.5 stars. One of the best matches of the 2 days. Probably the second best behind the tag on NXT. Awesome wrestling here. After the matchup, Styles leaves. No handshake, which is fine. And Cena looks at the crowd and he pulls off his armband and leaves it in the ring. Which is not retiring, he's taking a break. So, but honestly, John Cena's had the best 2 years of his career. He's had the best matches of his last 2 years. And Styles here has given John Cena another classic that he can add to his SummerSlam, you know, resume with Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan and who else has he faced at SummerSlam? Punk. Cena at SummerSlam does really go, and that's awesome. Okay. Then we had the WWE Tag Team title match, which again probably should have been earlier on in the show. Gallows and Anderson against the New Day. No Big E for now. Again, just bizarrely booked. Anderson and Gallows were pretty much going to win. Jon Stewart got involved and they were going to give him ring postitis. And then Big E runs down to the ring and causes the DQ. I hated the finish. I hated this finish quite a lot, but I thought the match was pretty decent. 2 3/4 stars. Anderson and Gallows looked good here, and I really do think they should have taken the belts. I think the New Day have kind of run their course as champs. Not as a team, but as champs. And I do think Anderson and Gallows should have won the belt, not just because I'm a fan, I just think it made sense here to have them win it at SummerSlam. New Day retaining via DQ, it's kind of bad, to be honest, but 2 3/4 stars, decent matchup. It is nice to see Big E, although he was gone for like 2 weeks. I didn't really miss him, he was only gone for 2 weeks. WWE World Championship, Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose. This matchup had so much great build going into this event, and in the end, the build was better than the match, and the match wasn't bad. It was pretty good. I'd give it like 3 1/4 stars. It was pretty good, but it just wasn't that like brawl and that fight that you wanted it to be. It was too long. It should have had about 3 minutes cut off it and been about 14 minutes. That would have been fine. But good stuff though from both guys. It was a pretty good match. 3 1/4 stars, as I just said. Ziggler hit a super kick on the outside of the ring, but I really liked the finish. I know my friend didn't, but I really liked the finish. Ambrose is on the top rope. Ziggler goes up to try and hit him with the face buster. Both men jump off, end up standing up, and Ambrose hits him with a quick dirty deeds for the win. Both moves, the super kick and the dirty deeds were kept protected. And like, I guess when I look at this matchup, my biggest issue is it just felt like a buffer chat title match. Like, SummerSlam title matches should not be buffer title matches, and this really did feel like it. But still pretty good from these guys. It was not as good as nowhere near as good as the Styles Cena match for SmackDown. That was the real main event for SmackDown for me. But pretty good, 3.25 stars, as I said. Yeah, that's pretty much all for that. Dolph Ziggler's trunks, I really liked the white tights. I think they were really nice. Then we had the last match for SmackDown on the show, which was the least interesting, the 6-women's tag, which they announced as a 6-women's tag, right? They said it was going to be a 6-women's tag team match, and I went, wait a minute, it's a handicap, because Eva Marie's not going to be there. The promotion is now that Eva Marie's not going to be there, so why is it still being announced as a 6-man tag? So they get everyone out, and Alexa Bliss and Natalya come out, and then Eva Marie's music hits. So you're thinking, oh, so the suspension is a work. I guess, right? Like, and then of course the monologue guy says Eva Marie will not be competing because she is distraught by the reaction of the crowd, and that was, again, they make genius ways. Eva Marie's storyline on that brand is great at the moment. So obviously we find out that she needed a replacement. I was 100% correct. It was Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella got the pop probably of the night, and no offense to Nikki Bella. She's a wonderful woman. I imagine she got most of that pop because of her ass. But to me, this felt like, what? The crowd didn't pop for anything in Styles Cena outside of maybe the finish and the kick out of the Super AA. Nikki Bella got the biggest pop of the night. This was like a pop that was nearly, I wouldn't say it was as big, but it was close to the GTS pop of Itami. I was shocked at how big this pop for Nikki Bella was. And she's a beautiful woman. She's a very attractive woman. But I don't think her looks made her get this pop. I had no idea. This crowd must have been trolling. Like, they weren't popping for... Obviously, as I said, the Ziggler-Ambrose match was totally dead. And this match was immediately after it. So maybe they were just like, we should probably do something. Hey, Nikki Bella, yay! Anyway, the matchup was fine. 2.25 stars. 2.5. I'll go 2.5. It was fine. The heels won. As I said, if Nikki Bella returns, the heels are going to win. They ended up winning. And, yeah. The heels ended up winning. Nikki Bella, she doesn't do the rack attack anymore, which is good because her back's pretty much knackered. So she does a TKO, which is a good move. So, good for Nikki Bella. And, yeah, good. Well, fine stuff there from the women. If she's on SmackDown now, that's a 7-women's division. It does strengthen the division, so that's good. It seems like she's on SmackDown Live now. Last 3 matches on the show. Finally, the Universal title matchup, and Rollins and Bala here were awesome. I think this was the second best match on the show. They had great chemistry. Again, the crowd were dead until the last 5 minutes. But these guys really, they had to battle that. They really tried here. And Rollins, honestly, I've got to talk about the belt, but I'll do that after I talk about the match. Rollins here, on Twitter, actually. Oh no, I'll talk about that again after the match. These two guys had a great match. I really enjoyed this matchup. 4.25 stars, back and forth. In the end, Rollins hits a pedigree, Bala kicks out. Bala hits a series of big moves. There's a suplex on the apron, which... Apron spots are so overdone now that I don't care about them. Was it this match with the apron spot? Oh no, it was Styles and Cena with the apron spot. Apron spots are overdone now. They're not fun anymore. They're on every single pay-per-view. But yeah, great stuff from these two guys. In the end, Bala hits a dropkick to Rollins. He goes face first into the turnbuckle. Another dropkick, he goes into the turnbuckle. Coup de grace hit in 1916 before this. But a coup de grace, 1, 2, 3. Finn Balor is the first ever WWE Universal Champion. Thank God, that's the perfect result. If there's 2 things on this show that I'm taking out as like great things, it's Styles winning and it's Finn Balor winning. Great matchup, 4.25 stars. If you went 4.5, I think I could get it. I think I'd understand. But it wasn't as good as the Cena Stars match earlier on in the show. And 4.25 stars, great match. There's nothing more I can say about it. And now I want to talk about the belt. The Universal title belt, which is, everyone's seen this basically. If you're watching this video, you've probably seen what it looks like. And it's bloody vile. It's atrocious. It's just a red woman's title with a it's not even the world title, it's just the red woman's title with a red plate and the WWE logo. It's really poor. And I know that the process is, oh, at least they made something good, like at least they made a new title instead of just, having the world title. No. It would have been better for this company to bring back a prestigious belt like the World Heavyweight title, the Dusty Rhodes belt, than to have the illusion that they have created a new title, which they haven't. They've spray painted a woman's title. So I think this was appalling. I think the title looks vile. I'm not the only person apparently, but I didn't let that affect the match. And the crowd, I'm going to say this, the crowd really let that affect the match. For the first 10, 11 minutes, all they could chant was, the belt sucks, the belt is shit, stuff like that. And I was like, oh damn, poor Rollins and Bala. And they did pull them back in the end, 4.25 stars. It was a great matchup. But I felt really sorry for them. Rollins went on Twitter after the show and said, it's not about what the belt looks like, it's about the guys competing for the belt. And I'm really let down by Brooklyn tonight. And I was like, I totally agree. I was let down by Brooklyn every single match outside of the main event. But, yeah, the belt is pretty atrocious, to be fair. I mean, that wasn't Seth Rollins saying the belt was good. It was him just saying, God, that crowd. Disgusting. A horrible crowd. Just a horrible crowd. Then we had the United States title match, and now you notice the issue of the structure. Who's in the US title match? It's Roman Reigns, and I've never seen a more blatant act of favouritism in my 14 years as a fan of professional wrestling. This was really abysmal. Like, this is favouritism in the US title, the least important belt in this company. I count the women's belt over it, I count the tag belts over it, the IC belt that had its great matches over the past few months, the four-way at Extreme Rules. This US title has nothing going for it anymore. And it's the second match from the end of Summerslam, the second biggest show of the year. That's appalling favouritism, Vince. You should be ashamed of yourself. However, I do want to say, apart from that, and I know people are raging and they need to let their emotions, and yes, they should be annoyed at the fact that the US title is second from the end, but I do want to say, I thought this segment, because it didn't end up being a match, I thought this segment was very well done. This segment, Roman Reigns looked like a badass. He looked like an absolute machine in this segment. He destroyed Rusev, he obliterated Rusev, these two men fought all around ringside, and then he speared him, pretty much apparently breaking Rusev's ribs. Who knows? This, to me, was like the perfect heel turn that won't happen. Like, Reigns here, I felt sorry for Rusev. The commentators felt sorry for Rusev. All my friends felt sorry for Rusev. Yet, this is not going to be a heel turn for Reigns. It's not going to be a face turn for Rusev, which it shouldn't be. It could be a heel turn for Reigns if and Rusev could stay heel and Reigns could be a heel, but I doubt they'll do it. But awesome stuff here from Reigns. He showed intensity, he showed aggression, he showed vindictiveness. This was great. If it was a match, if the bell had rung and this was genuinely a match and the finish came and it was DQ and Reigns and Rusev had been counted out or whatever, this would be like a 4-star match. This was so great. I wish this had been a match. Damn, I wish this had been a match so much. And then we had the main event. So, Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar in the main event of SummerSlam after a pay-per-view that was very up and down. I thought in the end it was a pretty good show. This main event needed to do something, to be honest. It needed to be eventful, it needed to be important. And in all honesty, people complain about this match, or the finish, or the TKO finish, or Lesnar, it's just a suplex match. This match was booked so perfectly. And I love Brock Lesnar to death. And I don't care what anybody says. This match was booked exceptionally well. This was booked like the Cena match, but even more so. Because immediately from the get-go, Lesnar goes into Orton. Orton's trying to strike him. Lesnar Germans him. Boom. Lesnar Germans him. Bang, bang. German. And And there's a point in this match where he takes Orton out of the ring, and you felt in this match Orton's going to get the RKO. Orton's going to get the RKO off, and it's going to be great. And he puts him on the announce table, and he picks him up, and Orton RKOs him through one of the announce tables. Orton, by this point, had actually been thrown through an announce table as well. So Orton RKOs him on the announce table, and rolls him in the ring, DDTs him, gives him another RKO, and everybody in the crowd bought this for a near fall. If they didn't, I did. I bought that as a near. I bought that as a finish. That Randy Orton was going to beat Lesnar with 2 RKOs. Randy Orton hit 3 moves in this entire match: 2 RKOs, 1 on the announce table, and a DDT. So this was so perfectly done. After the RKO, Orton goes, "Damn it, I couldn't put him away the RKO." So psychology, which was the best part of this match, he says, "I need to use the punt." Goes for the punt. Gets F5'd, Lesnar pins him, 1, 2, kick out by Orton. Lesnar just hammers the face of Randy Orton. He busts him open, but Orton is bleeding like a stuffed pig. I had a Eddie Guerrero Judgment Day 04 flashbacks with JBL. Orton is bleeding out, the referee calls for the bell, Lesnar wins by TKO. This was so perfectly well booked. Like, as a wrestling match, this wasn't great, but this was so perfectly well booked. And if you count your booking in your match rating, 3.5 stars. Like, genuinely, I could not think of a better way to have done this. And people are going to complain, TKO finishes, stuff like that. This was so perfectly done. And when the thing about wrestling fans that annoys me is they'll say, God, I hate that finish. Explain to me why you hate that finish. I could explain to you why I think this is perfectly booked. Because Lesnar needs to look strong. Orton didn't lose. Orton didn't lose the match. He didn't get pinned. He didn't tap out. The referee called it for him. And after the match-up, Lesnar goes back, attacks Orton again. People were expecting Goldberg. He didn't turn up. Show ends with Lesnar dominant in the ring. And that was SummerSlam. Great ending to the show. So, when rating SummerSlam, first of all, I'm going to get this out of the way. Obviously, it wasn't better than NXT. NXT was a 2-hour show. It was more concise. The 3 big matches were excellent, or great at least, with the 2 big ones being excellent. And the other stuff was pretty good too. So, this card had a great match with Styles and Cena, a great match with Bala and Rollins, an awesome main event, I thought, in terms of booking, a great women's match with a shocking finish. So, what was great about this show, and this is how I'd name it, it was a spectacle that wasn't spectacular. So what I mean was there was, Lesnar was on the show, and it was John Cena losing to AJ Styles, and Finn Balor won a new belt. It was a spectacular show in terms of being a spectacle and being important, that didn't end up being spectacular in the lower card. So I thought that some of the lower card matches were good. The Owens match with Jericho was good. The Sheamus match was good in the pre-show. The Ziggler-Ambrose match was good, but none of it felt spectacular. The Ziggler and Ambrose match should have felt important, and it really didn't. I will say that I will say that if the crowd were into that matchup, it probably would have been like 4 stars. But they really hurt it. But in the end, I'm going to give SummerSlam 2016 an 8 out of 10. I think this was a better show than last year. But there were more matches, and it did drag a little bit more, and it was 6 hours long, and my life was like dying, just waiting for this show to carry on. I will say, while watching Styles and Cena, I didn't want it to end. While watching this main event, I didn't want it to end, even though it was perfectly booked. While watching Bala and Rollins, I didn't want it to end, and that's definitely a good thing in wrestling. So, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Raw Slot. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Tell me your thoughts on SummerSlam. I'm Dean Ambrose today, Dean Ambrose fan, waiting for Raw tonight. He's not on Raws on SmackDown Live. Tell me your thoughts on SummerSlam. What was your favourite match of the show? What do you think to AJ Styles beating John Cena? What do you think to the WWE Universal title? What do you think to the booking of the main event? And what do you think to Sasha Banks losing the women's title? Fairly shocking stuff. So, oh wait, what was my overall... Last thing, what was my overall predictions then? I was... Sorry, let me just check. I was 3-2. 3-2... 4-2... Wait, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2. For the Gallows and Anderson match, my predictions are void. So, it doesn't matter. 5-2... it doesn't mean I'll lose one, though. 6-2... 7-2, 8-2, 9-2. 9-2! Good predictions, Ross. Good predictions. The only ones I got wrong were the women's title, which I imagine every person got wrong, and the Owens and Jericho against Enzo and Cass, which again I actually imagine everyone got wrong. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. It has been Raw Slot again. Tell me your thoughts on the show. I want to know what you thought. Do you think this was better than NXT TakeOver Brooklyn? In my view, no, it wasn't worse than it by like leaps and bounds, but it wasn't as good as it, definitely. But anyway, thanks for watching. I might do a top 5 matches of the 2 nights review, which will be fairly easy to do, I think. The top 2 and 3 will be fairly difficult to do. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Raw Slot. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. And yeah, I mean, I'll be up with Raw tomorrow, obviously, and SmackDown the next day, and NXT the next day. So it's just a long week that will never end. Thanks for watching, guys.